What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Pick Six Podcast, CBS Sports Daily NFL Podcast. I'm Brinson. I'm your host. I'm furiously Googling today's date. It's Thursday, October 27th. If you were listening, if you're watching the podcast on YouTube, youtube.com/pick6. If you're listening to the podcast, likely Friday, October 28th. This is our best bet show. Two just enthusiastic and happy to be here human beings, and Pete Prisco and RJ White. How are we doing?
Well, we've been waiting for you, so why would we be enthusiastic?
First of all, I logged on early, and we started this podcast on time. Are there any facts to dispute that?
It was close.
This podcast started at 1 o'clock. There's nobody in the comments. They're shocked that it started at 1 o'clock. Usually it's like 1:08. We're trying to tighten up here, Pete.
RJ can't even talk. He's so stunned that you're here on time.
Yeah, we started at 1 o'clock. There was when the clock turned to 1 o'clock, we were staring at an empty chair. I'll say that much.
That's true.
I'm glad that. I got some exciting news.
What's that?
I've decided to implement my own new parlay into this show.
Why is that exciting news?
It's called the Revenge Parlay.
Oh God, you and the revenge.
Every week, or at least for this week, and we'll see how it goes. I'm going to put together a package of revenge games. And Pete, you can give me thumbs up or thumbs down, RJ too, on whether it qualifies as legitimate revenge. And if it does, we'll include it in the parlay. If we don't get to 3, no parlay. Sound good? Sounded fine. Sound close enough to good.
Since I love revenge games and how much they mean, and guys play so much harder, we could try it. We'll try.
Well, I know that you hate the revenge angle, so that's why I want to play it up. And then we also have people, I think, like bosses who listen to this podcast who hate the revenge angle too. So I really want to lean into this revenge angle and get my revenge against you for the revenge factor, as well as my revenge against unnamed executives. We got Tom Coughlin in the comments here. If you're not 5 minutes early, you're late. That's it, buddy. If I'm on time, I'm early. Okay.
No kidding.
Week 7. God damn.
When you must be late for every tea time.
You should flip that quote. Typically, if Brinson's 5 minutes late, he's early.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, if I'm on time, I'm early.
Do you ever make a tea time on time?
Yeah, it's usually close, but I make them. That's what you should tell me. Is this is a 1 o'clock tea time? Anyway. It's a week 8 best bet show. The NFL has been difficult to figure out, particularly for me. RJ overall 22, 18-1 after a 3-3 week. Pete 20-20, just like your vision.
I'm middling.
Just like your vision.
Yeah.
2020 after a 3-3 week.
In.
I stink this year. I stink. 17, 25-2. I hope you're fading me. Keep fading. 3-5 last week. The revenge parlay is going to hit though, and that's where we're going to start cooking. We start, however, in London, the Broncos at the Jaguars. The Broncos have not lost 5 games in a row since 2017. They're on their third 4-game losing streak since the start of 2021, though. And they're 2.5-point dogs in London to the Jaguars, a total of 39.5. It does seem like Russell Wilson is going to play in this game. Broncos are the lowest scoring team in the NFL, but also the third lowest defensive scoring team in the NFL. More importantly, Pete, if you woke up on an airplane and Russell Wilson was doing knee highs down the middle of the plane on an international flight, what would you do?
Triple.
I'm serious. I want your airplane takes on this. I'm going to grab my.
Well, I was just going to get up and do high knees in the middle of the show. I don't want to know what you think about that. I mean, my God, does it get any dumber? I mean, seriously, he's the corniest player in the history of this league. Everything he does is full cheese. You got people on that plane trying to sleep. You got people on that plane probably relaxing. You have other people on that plane probably playing some cards. And you got Russell Wilson running high knees up and down the aisle. Give me a break. There's not a single player on that plane that looked over and said, look how dedicated Russell is. And oh, by the way, it was leaked out. So people wanted it out to make it look like he was such a great teammate. I hated it. I think their offense stinks. I think Jacksonville's defense has been okay, not good enough. But I think this is an opportunity for Jacksonville. They know the lay of the land over there. I think they have an advantage. I'm going to take Jacksonville minus the 2.5. I don't love it, but I would take Jacksonville. And by the way, Doug Peterson, 4th and 1, you're up 4. Kick the damn field goal, buddy.
So are you considering these Lennon games semi-home games now for the Jaguars? Is what you're saying?
They're just used to it more. I don't know if it's. I mean,
I
if
think
it's
they're
a home
8-1
game.
now. Is that right? That's a lot.
Yeah, and they're used to it. They've adjusted. They go out on Thursday now. They used to go out early in the week. The Broncos went early in the week. They've been out there all week.
Mm-hmm. At the Harrow School, I think when I saw that, I was like, "Is that from a Harry Potter?" Like that doesn't sound like a real place. But I like the Denver on a teaser here at plus 8.5. I don't know if there's any hope for the Denver offense with how they look, no matter who's quarterback. But the Denver defense, number one in yards per play and pass yards per play, and number one in the red zone too. The Jacksonville's offense was good statistically last week, but they're just not consistently scoring points. And this seems like the type of defense where they'll have trouble scoring points here. So I like in a low total game, teasing it up to 8.5 and having all those points to play with. So if Russ is back and it seems like he'll play in this game, I just don't think they're that far back on a neutral field from Jacksonville. So I probably lean Denver on the normal number, but definitely a teaser for me up to 8.5.
You know what? I don't really have I don't know what to do with the Broncos. I mean, I don't know what to do with the Jaguars either. I keep taking Jacksonville. They just keep burning me. I do think that Jacksonville is, if we're looking at teams that are probably better than their record shows, I think Jacksonville is one of those. I still don't trust Nathaniel Hackett. I don't trust Russell Wilson. This knee-high thing, like his teammates can't. I mean, at some point, aren't you just like, dude, like,
yes,
like you're being a cornball.
Yes.
Like, just stop and just.
That's what he is.
Like the Broncos country let's ride stuff. Like nobody he had to stop doing it because it was so weird. And like I don't know. I just picture him like buzzing the stewardess over and over again to like rat out Jerry Jeudy for not wearing a seatbelt in aisle 15 or something like that.
Next time you're on a commercial flight, get up and try and start doing high knees up and down the aisle and see how well that goes.
Dude, you get tackled by an air marshal in 30 seconds.
You're right.
I mean, yeah. I'm like taking a principle stand on the Jaguars because I think they owe me, which is this is totally stupid. I get it. I'm gonna take Jacksonville as the best bet. I will 100% regret this by 10:15 on Sunday morning. I think the experience in London helps. By the way, this game, just as an FYI for people who are planning to watch it on Sunday morning, ESPN Plus only. First time that's ever happened in actually the history of the NFL. So if you want to watch it, just don't, be prepared to, if you wake up and you're planning to throw it on, you're going to have to either have a login or, get it from Pete. Next game, the Dolphins -3.5 at the Lions, over under 51. Fun fact for this game, the Dolphins have not beaten the Lions since 2006, which seems impossible given how bad the Lions have been over the last few years. I think this would be a pretty heavy DFS game in terms of ownership with the Lions' bad defense and that Miami explosive offense. Jared Goff, no touchdowns his last two games, but maybe get DeAndre Swift and Amon St. Brown back. Aiden Hutchinson making a very good case for Defensive Rookie of the Year with his performance. Sort of flying under the radar with how well Sauce Gardner's playing. Pete, you see a shootout happening here?
I do. I think this is a track meet. I think Miami's going to be outstanding on that fast track. Why Miami got away from the passing game against the Steelers was mystifying to me. They decided they wanted to run the ball, which was stupid. And they could have thrown it and they were all day early in that game and got up to a big lead. I think they do that here. I think Detroit's defense played better last week, but they're still not good. I'm leaning to the over. I think the Lions will score as well, so I'm going to take the over as one of my best bets, over 51.5.
You will never convince me that Mike McDaniel did not have the +7 last week with that 4-3 call. He is definitely trying to cover the number there on that. I like Miami. I had Miami as a best bet, -7. That's why I'm salty last week. I still have them as a best bet, -3.5 here at the Lions. I think this line should be 5. They seemed en route to blowing out Pittsburgh, but they played that second half like they were up 60 instead of 6, and they had such a big buffer. They didn't really care about winning the game. And, if it would have came back to bite them, they would have deserved that. Their offense is still 6th in yards per play and 4th in pass yards per play up against the last place defense. I think they're going to throw all over them and get a lot of points there. Detroit actually played incredibly even against Dallas in the box score everywhere but turnovers. They lost the turnover game 5-1, and that's what did them in the end. Most of those turnovers were at their last 4 or 5 drives. Miami's defense got 3 turnovers against Pittsburgh. They've largely had trouble generating them this year, which I think they've typically been better at getting turnovers, even if their defense as a whole hasn't been that good. So be interesting to see if they can do that here, what Dallas did to Detroit in last week. If Miami doesn't get the turnovers, I think it has to go over. And this is a much easier matchup for Detroit offensively after getting New England and Dallas. So I like your overcall. I just like Miami -3.5 as a best bet because I just think they're the much better team here.
I'm going to toss and you see that the line there on Caesars, Dolphins -3.5 is -115. So that could get up to 4, potentially. Wouldn't be that shocking. The Lions aren't a great football team. I think though that they will have a major try hard situation here for Dan Campbell, who looks like he's really getting beaten down. He got a vote of confidence this week. Jared Goff did too. I think that's not great. So you really you're going to need to get some rah Dan Campbell stuff here to get hyped up for this game. And we have our first.
Is it? Yeah.
It's the first one on the list. Dan Campbell revenge game.
Because he was an interim coach?
I'm asking you if it qualifies. I'm not saying it's revenge. You can say yes or no.
I don't think any of them qualify.
No, you have to put
this one certainly does not qualify.
Okay, so we're going to take the Lions money line out of the possible revenge game parlay. God, I love this. It means we're only down to 7 or 8 possibilities now. So the Lions does not qualify as revenge, even though Dan Campbell was an interim coach for the Dolphins. I'm going to put the Lions in a teaser here. Yeah, as bad as they've been the last few weeks, they are still capable. If they get Swift and Brown back, that offense is capable of not. I don't know if they'll keep pace with Miami. I do like the over. I think there'll be enough back and forth, or the Lions can storm through the back door if they get Swift and Brown back. If they don't, I don't love the teaser. I mean, I got to take it now, so I don't really have a choice. But hopefully, both those guys come back, and that teaser looks good. I agree. There's probably a shootout. Thought about the over. I was worried if I took the over, it would be the 4th straight week that Pete and I were square on the most obvious over on the slate. So I passed on it. And turns out that was probably.
They've cost us.
Yes, they have. Steelers at the Eagles. Eagles -11 over under 43. The Eagles are 9-0 against the Steelers in home games in the Super Bowl era. They have only allowed 13 plays of 20+ yards this season, fewest in the NFL. They are first in rush touchdowns. Hurts is second in the NFL in rush touchdowns for anyone. Eagles also 6th in rush yards per game and 1st in rush attempts per game. Steelers 9th in rush defense DVOA. And there's a chance that TJ Watt could be back for this game, which would make it a little more interesting. Pete, for 20 Brinson bucks, can you name what was the name of the 1943 Eagles and Steelers combination team?
Steagles.
That's right. You have 20 Brinson bucks now. Congratulations.
Yeah.
You're going to get him in 202027, just FYI.
Yeah. When I covered that team, look, this game to me sets up perfectly for the Eagles. You come off a bye against a team that's out on the road, basically on a short week. Come on, give me a break. Every advantage in the world is to the Eagles. It's hard to prepare for them anytime, but particularly in this scenario. So I don't like laying the big number, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to lay the 11 with the Eagles.
Yeah, it's a big number. I would lean that way too. Pittsburgh also struggles against the pass. You were talking about the rush numbers in this matchup. Philly's offense 3rd in pass yards per play. I think this could be a rerun of Pittsburgh's Buffalo loss, where they're just dominated up and down the field, because Philly is that good, and now they got their pass rush better. Pittsburgh's offense last in yards per play. I don't know how they're going to move the ball against a rested elite Philly defense. My power ratings say should be a little higher, like a 12.5, 13 line. So I think this is giving Pittsburgh a little bit too much respect here. My lean would be to Philly, but it is a big number.
I'm going to take the under on this one. You just don't. I think the Eagles are, if they can get a lead, they're more than willing to squat on it and sort of burn clock, especially in the second half. We've seen that where they just don't score points in the week 4 they scored their first points in the fourth quarter. And we mentioned with that good run defense for the Steelers, maybe it takes them a little bit longer to get going in that run game. Don't think they'll be too aggressive in trying to attack via the pass. So maybe a sort of a blue collar heavyweight battle here. I like the under 43. Patriots -2.5 at the Jets. Over under 40.5. The Patriots have won 12 straight games against the Jets. December 2nd, 2001 is the last time these two teams played where the Jets had a better record than the Pats. I'm going to take the Patriots as first I got to ask, does this qualify for revenge?
For
Belichick and the Jets. He hates the Jets.
no, it's not revenge.
What?
But you just said they win every single game. What is he getting?
Yeah,
revenge?
if it was, come on, it can't be revenge. It's been how many years has it been? Give me a break. No,
he likes beating the Jets.
You're grasping for revenge games.
This is so weak. I'm so disappointed, y'all. I thought this is a lock for revenge.
No.
You think Belichick going to hold a grudge against the Jets?
It's a revenge for the Jets. They haven't won. They haven't actually beaten New England in regulation since the 2010 playoffs. Their two wins since then have been in overtime. So they just can't. They're like 0-20-3 in regular season.
And why would he hold a grudge against them? They should hold a grudge against him.
You guys are lame. Fine.
They named him the head coach and he bailed on him.
With the cocktail napkin. I resign as head coach of NY Jets.
He have a grudge against them.
He just hates the Jets.
Yeah, well, he took the job and then he backed out. They should hate him.
Okay.
All right,
fine.
You got the Patriots. You still have the Patriots as your best bet, right?
Yeah, hell yeah. I have the Patriots as the best bet. They just got embarrassed on Monday night against by the Bears at home. And now they're playing a team that Belichick likes to beat the crap out of. I love the Patriots minus 2.5. I think they roll here. I'm curious, Pete, what you think, one, about the quarterback situation in New England, and two, how this game plays out.
Well, look, Mac Jones is the quarterback, and he should be the quarterback. The other guy's a backup. That's what he is. They got to find out what they have in Mac Jones. A year ago this time, they were talking about him the next Tom Brady. He fizzled out a little bit at the end of last year, but you got to find out what he is. So play him. They've made the right decision on that call. This line looks funky to me. I just think that after watching New England the other day, they have so many issues. The Jets are banged up. That's my main concern. Losing Breece Hall, losing Vera Tucker, those are big hits for them. But I'm still going to take the Jets in the game. I don't love the game, and I know RJ's playing it a different way, and I probably would agree with you on the way you are playing it, RJ.
Yeah, I have the Jets as the second leg of the teaser at plus 8.5, move it up to 8.5. If I knew Brinson was going to be so high on the Patriots, I would have made the Jets a best bet on the 2.5 also. Probably going to go lock that in on Sportsline after we get off this call. But the Jets defense.
No, I've got a revenge game against RJ.
Yeah, you do.
Revenge. Belichick needs revenge on the Jets.
Okay, it's not okay. When I say revenge, I should clarify. Like, it doesn't necessarily mean like I've got to get revenge on you. It's like it's like a spite game. How about a spite game? Is that better?
How about this is the team you have to beat if you're the Jets, because you can't beat them ever. And this is the 27 times circled game, because that's the matchups they haven't won in regulation in 27 times. This Jets defense is turning into an elite unit. I think they could cause problems for this New England offense, especially that doesn't look great passing the ball. That we're having issues against Chicago of all teams. That Jets offense lost key pieces: Breece Hall, Elijah Vera Tucker. So maybe the Belichick defense shows up and destroys Zach Wilson. But I expected that last week against Justin Fields, and they didn't show up. So the defense has been inconsistent to me. If the Jets stay in the mix, it's because the run game is succeeding, shortening the game. That's what we said about the Bears, and they were able to do it. So if the Jets look at the game film there and they figure out what the Bears did right, I think that they can come in and win this game. Because we knew Chicago's rush offense could be a problem for New England's defense, but I didn't know they look awful there. So I think the Jets can come in and win this game. I think they're desperate to win this game. I think if anybody wants revenge in this matchup, it's the Jets for how much they get beat down by the Patriots in the last 10, 15 years. And but I think teasing it's the way to go. Put it up to 8.5.
Yeah, the revenge would be the Jets. Not
spite is about fine. Spite, not revenge. Like revenge is like is an incorrect broad term for what I'm looking for here. It's a spite game. Spite/revenge.
Yeah, no, we can't give it to you.
Okay. All right. Well, I got 4 or 5 more. We're gonna get a parlay in here. I'll tell you what. Not gonna be easy, but I think I got 3 more, so they all need to hit. Otherwise, this little gambit I had, this idea for this revenge parlay is out the window in week 1. Let's take a break, and when we come back, this is another revenge game after the break. Next. Raiders minus 1.5 at the Saints. Over under 49.5. The Raiders are 0-3 on the road this year. It's still favored. 3rd in total points. DFL in sacks, tied with the Lions there, only 9 this season. Josh Jacobs became the third player since 2010 to have 3 straight 140-yard rushing games, along with Derrick Henry 2019 and Adrian Peterson in 2012. A 4th straight would put him in really rare territory, joining just Earl Campbell and Otis Armstrong. The Raiders once employed Dennis Allen, the New Orleans Saints head coach, and they fired him.
Revenge.
This qualifies revenge.
You can if you believe in such things, this one qualifies for it.
Let's
If you believe
go.
it, if you believe in the stupidity of it, this one qualifies for it.
Let's go. We got one on the books. All right. Saints
All right.
money line is our first. This is not going to happen. But anyway, go ahead. What do you think about this game, Pete?
I'm taking the Saints plus the points in a teaser. Look, I like the Saints, but I love them in the teaser. You give me 7.5. I do eventually think that their defense has to show up at some point. They have too many good players on that defense not for it to show up. And Dennis Allen's supposed to be a defensive coach. I thought they'd be dominant. They haven't been. But I think this is a great spot for them, and they're well rested. They played on the Thursday night, so I'll take the Saints as part of my teaser, and I'll tell you who the other side is down the road.
I would also lean to the Saints because of the revenge angle. Has to be revenge. Andy Dalton versus Josh McDaniels, I guess. Alvin Kamara versus I don't know. Max Crosby.
The Raiders fired Dennis Allen. Like, you get fired by.
If you believe in that stuff, then yeah. But I don't believe in it. But it qualifies as a revenge game.
No one has to believe in it. I'm just saying for the parameters.
You believe in it.
Understand?
You've always believed in it.
I believe in it. I'm not saying y'all do. I'm saying it qualifies. Is all I'm saying.
But the pick I really like in this game is the over 49.5. I think these offenses are going to get revenge on these two defenses. Huge move off the look ahead in the actual line. Vegas beat up on awful Houston with 2 weeks to prepare, so I don't know that I agree with a huge line move. So that's why I think value might be on the Saints. Coming off a mini bye, hopefully healthier for this game. They weren't as bad as the score board suggested. They have those 2 pick sixes, which, maybe you expect if Jameis Winston's your quarterback, but I don't think Andy Dalton's going to do that every single game. New Orleans offense putting up points. They just need to avoid those type of bad turnovers. And the Vegas defense is next to last in turnovers. So I expect New Orleans to keep scoring here. I think the Vegas offense is on a roll, and the Saints defense, keep waiting for it to come around. I know Pete has made picks in the I think week 4, week 5, expecting that would be the week. It just hasn't happened yet. So I think this is going for a shootout here. 49.5 seems too low to me. I like the over.
Yeah, for me, when I wrote this up in my picks column, a lot of it kind of boiled down to what is the status of Marshawn Lattimore. Because I think that makes a huge difference with Devontae Adams in there. The Saints are banged up. I mean, the Raiders have a ton of people on the injury report as well. But the Saints have Michael Thomas, who didn't practice Wednesday, Jarvis Landry, and Marshawn Lattimore. Like, those guys are huge for them. And this offense isn't the same, and that defense isn't going to be the same against a guy like Adams, who can be an alpha receiver if they don't have Lattimore there. So I think watch that. If Lattimore if Lattimore is out, I agree with RJ. The over is a pretty good look. I lean towards the Saints, but don't have a best bet on this game. Would be a little nervous about my revenge play with no Lattimore.
Why do you think the offense isn't the same? I mean, these guys are hurt every week, and they keep scoring a ton of points.
Right.
Oh, I'm not saying the offense is necessarily like that much worse without Thomas. And
like, they keep on showing up. I think it was the UK game where they scored a ton of points, and it was like they were down there, number 1 quarterback, number 1 running back, number 1 receiver, and pointing that out. And the guys keep getting hurt. And they start throwing touchdowns to Rashid Shaheed and guys you never heard of before. So I mean, it's just, to me, I think they're just going to score points no matter what at this point.
Yeah, I mean, the last 4 games, 76 against the Cards on that Thursday night game, 56 against 56 total with the Bengals, 71 against the Seahawks, and 50-some against the Vikings. So yeah, maybe it's just a shootout. But Andy Dalton's a huge upgrade over Jameis Winston, that's for sure. All right, don't care about the offensive injuries, but I do think Lattimore matters on the defensive side of the ball. Bears at the Cowboys. Cowboys minus 9.5, over under 42.5. The Bears are running the ball 59.8% of the time, number 1 in the NFL, and they're the only team in the league with 3 300-plus yard rushers: Montgomery, Fields, Khalil Herbert. Pete, looking like no Zeke Elliott in this game potentially. He didn't practice Wednesday or Thursday. Is this the long-awaited Tony Pollard breakout?
Well, I don't know if this is a mush or not, but I know somebody made him the start of the week once Zeke Elliott got rolled out. That's a layup, though. He shouldn't be allowed to put him in there in that spot, but that's a whole nother story. I like the Cowboys in this game. I think it's a bad spot for the Bears. They're a young team coming off what they think it was a big win on a short week. They put a lot into that game. I think their offensive line will be overmatched against the Cowboys front. So I think Dak Prescott will play better here. Bears have improved on defense, but I think Prescott plays better. I'm going to lay the 9.5. I usually don't love laying 9 points, but I'm going to make the Cowboys the best bet.
Yeah, the Dallas defensive front versus the Chicago O-line is completely unfair, and they should put an R rating on this game, or at least a PG-13, because it's going to get ugly. Dak didn't look in top form last week, and Dallas needed those turnovers to cover that we talked about with Jared Goff. I think we should get some short fields if the Chicago offensive line doesn't hold up, and giving up sacks and fumbles and turnovers. It's a huge line. I agree Dallas can cover it with Chicago on the short week, and it's a back-to-back travel spot for Chicago. I don't know that they can pull the surprise that they pulled on New England twice in a row, because now that stuff is on tape. So I would lean Dallas minus 9.5, especially since the number came down from double digits through the 10.
Yeah, the Cowboys are my second team. I'm putting in that teaser with the Lions. So I get them down to 2.5. Or do I get them down to 3.5?
3.5.
I'll take them 3.5. I think it's a bad spot for the Bears. Huge emotional win over the Patriots. You go into New England and you that's the first ever win in New England for the Bears, and you do it with Fields looking good. Totally different ball game with Micah Parsons and crew. Dan Quinn will have stuff cooked up to take care of that. So no 3.5, not a great teaser number. Don't care. I'll take the Cowboys and the Lions in that teaser. And again, just a bad spot for the Bears. Obviously, if you can get it under 3, that's a little bit better. But whatever. Cardinals at the Vikings. Vikings minus 3.5 over under 49. The Cardinals are 10-2 on the road since the start of 2021. Best record in the NFL. Vikings 3-0 at home this year. Cardinals coming off the highest scoring game of the Cliff Kyler era with DeAndre Hopkins back. Now, the question is, Pete, is this a Patrick Peterson revenge game?
Yes.
Yes.
We'll give it to you, but it doesn't matter. I'm not going to play any harder. He plays hard all the time anyways, but it is. We'll give it to you. I like the Vikings in this spot. I think they're being a little undervalued by a lot of people in this league. They haven't looked great, but they're just starting to kind of round into form on defense, and we know they can score on offense. Arizona, you mentioned all those points they scored, but they had 2 pick sixes. They're still not clicking on offense. I think this is a great opportunity for Vikings. I'll take Minnesota minus the 3.5.
And the pass offense was all Hopkins, as they just traded out Marquise Brown for Hopkins. And I don't think Ertz was as involved last week. So if that's going to be how one-dimensional your pass game is, I think Minnesota can come out here and do some things, even though Minnesota's defense doesn't rank great in pass yards per play, 32nd in the league. But so does Arizona's offense, even with that explosion last week. But Minnesota's defense, even with that terrible yards per play rating, they're not giving up a lot of points. They know how to keep teams out of the end zone. So I like them too. Arizona's offense outplayed by beat up New Orleans offense last week. Talk about the Saints offense again. But those 2 pick sixes swung the balance. And I think the Minnesota offense with 2 weeks to prepare should roll all over an Arizona defense. I don't think is very good. The look ahead was Minnesota minus 6. I think that number was correct. I think the number is what Pete is saying, is thinking that Minnesota is overvalued and they're basically underrating them. I don't think Arizona's proved they're 2.5 points better after that win last week to move this line down to 3.5. So great value on Minnesota here. That's why I have it as a best bet too.
Oh, I believe I have it as the best bet as well. Or was that incorrectly placed?
No, you do.
I did.
I saw it. We all do.
Yeah, we all got Minnesota. Okay. I mean, I agree with it. Like RJ said, the look ahead was 6. The Vikings aren't being treated in the same vein as like other NFC contenders. And this is a good team. It's a well coached.
And I don't think their best football hasn't been played yet, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, they haven't been necessarily dominant, I guess, but they're just so much better on offense than they were under the Zimmer era. And I like Mike Zimmer, but I mean, they're not waiting until they're involved in these shootouts to try and score points. They don't profile as like necessarily an elite team by DVOA, I don't believe. 14th on offense, 24th on defense. But like you said, a team that could get better, and they already stacked the wins early in the season. I got the Vikings as the best bet and have the Vikings money line in the revenge parlay. Yes, as Simmons Stem points out in the chat, all 3 of us liking the Vikings may be the kiss of death, but so be it. The Commanders at the Colts. Colts minus 3, over under 39.5. Look, anytime you get Sam Ehlinger and Taylor Heineke on the same field at the same time, you throw the stats out and you just say, like, just sit back and enjoy watching 2 guys who are truly elite at their profession play some football. Unfortunately, did miss the Carson Wentz revenge angle here. That was an obvious one, Pete, but I am curious what you think about Matt Ryan being benched and sort of what what you think went into that, what the reasoning was, and whether the Colts are doing him dirty or not.
A, the owner wanted it. That's why it happened. B, was he at fault for everything that happened? Absolutely not. C, any quarterback that can play behind that offensive line deserves to win a medal. They're terrible up front, and they've been that way all year long. Now, Ellinger can move around a little bit, so that's probably why they're thinking about that. They also don't want to pay Matt Ryan if he gets hurt. That's another reason. But I'm not taking the Colts with Sam Ellinger in his first game. I'm just not. I'm taking the other side. I thought Washington was better last week. Now, Green Bay's offense stinks, but they were better on defense. I think that'll show up here. And what if the Colts showed anybody that they should be laying 3 points at home right now with that bad offensive line? They can't block. If you can't block, you're not good. They're going to have problems. I like Washington plus the points. That's one of my best bets.
And they're up against the defense that can get pressure too, with that Washington line. I don't see Indy scoring much in this game. Both defenses actually coming off excellent games, especially if you take out the fact that Derrick Henry's not going to play in this game, which was what Indy had to deal with last week. But I think this could be a defensive struggle here. The total kind of says as much at 39.5. Maybe, as you said, Ellinger can run around and keep Indy in the game, but you need to see it first. I don't know how you lay 3 points with him in his first action ever. So I think Heineke is the way to go. Experienced enough, the experienced quarterback in this game to lead the offense. I like the revenge angle for Washington, revenge on Indy for trading them Carson Wentz. Like, why would you do that?
Can I throw it in there? I think I like that.
Yeah, sure, go for it. So
right,
I would lean Washington plus 3, but not a best bet.
Here we go. Washington, we get the Carson Wentz revenge angle after all.
That's all I got. It's a lean right now, but I would lean toward Washington.
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand how like Sam Ellinger is a 3-point favorite in his first. I mean, he's never thrown an NFL pass. And I know Washington's not good, but man, alive, like they should not be getting 3 points in this spot.
Washington's won 2 in a row.
I kind of think they should be favored in this spot, but maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, you can't make Washington road favorites.
At least pick them. Catching 3 points though.
Yeah, that's a lot of points for that game.
Yeah. All right. So we're adding Washington. So we got a parlay. We got an official parlay. Thank goodness I didn't have to use my last one because I didn't think you were going to approve it.
What was the last one? We'll get to it.
We'll get to it in a second. Yeah. I'll see if you can guess it when it happens. Currently, Saints money line, Vikings money line, Commanders money line. That is the revenge parlay. Wentz deal added to that. All right. Titans. Speaking of weird lines. Titans minus 2 at the Texans, over under 40.5. The Titans are dead last. The Texans, are dead last in rushing yards allowed, and Derrick Henry's starting to heat up. He crushes this team. Can you explain this spread to me, Pete? Because I think it should be much higher.
This is one of the all-time sucker lines of all time, and it just looks weird. But my lean is to the Texans. I'm taking them in a teaser, getting the 8.5. Because then to go with the Saints on the other side of it, because I just don't think the Titans. I don't think the Titans are that good, and B, this line looks so funky. When you thought it came out, what was the look ahead line? RJ 4?
I believe it was 4. Let me look. 3.5. I have done actually.
And Davis Mills is playing a little bit better. He's getting better. His numbers aren't awful anymore, and so I'm going to take the Texans plus the points here in my second part of my teaser.
And it opened on the other side of 3-2, and it steamed down because I think the general consensus was that Tannehill wouldn't play, and they were worried about his health. And when you get Malik Willis in there, we've seen a little bit of him in action. I just think people know that he's not ready. So on the road, there's the sense of you want to be on the Texans. So I think at one point this line might have gotten all the way down to 1. And then when Tannehill didn't get ruled out and that didn't come to pass, and now maybe he's trending toward playing, you've seen some buyback on the Titans. That 1 wasn't the right line, so now it goes up to 2, then it goes up to 2.5. Will they get on the other side of 3? I don't know. If Tannehill was healthy, this line should be a lot higher. I think I have it at 4.5. So if I'm confident in his health leading into Sunday, I'm going to want to play Tennessee. Right now, I don't think you can trust either of these teams. I don't want to be on Houston at all ever. So I'm going to stay away, but my lean is going to be the Titans for now.
Tannehill DNP on Wednesday, which would be expected. I wouldn't expect he practices on Thursday either.
No.
Obviously monitor that. It's a good point. If Malik Willis is playing, I still think the Titans can win with Willis in there, but Derrick Henry's going to have to go absolutely ham. He's going to be like 25% in DFS this week because of the matchup and because of his recent performances. I'll take the Titans as the best bet and just gamble that Tannehill is going to play. And also with the backing of the Derrick Henry, Like, I think I could end up getting pretty good value on this, especially if Henry goes nuts. Henry over rushing yards props, probably a pretty good look too. All right. Some rapid fire-ish picks. So we endeavor to make this a 45-minute podcast. Panthers at the Falcons. Falcons minus 4.5, over under 41. Pete, how many Brinson bucks would I need to give you to watch this game?
None. I'll watch it. They'll have them all on. Hey, by the way, if the Panthers win and the Saints and Bucks lose, the Panthers are in first place. That's disgusting.
Repulsive.
Christian McCaffrey was the issue.
Right. Well, they ran the ball well last week without him.
Against a really good rush defense.
They had no problem. I think the Falcons get home and get back on track. They got ambushed last week, and we kind of saw that coming. We thought it would be a high-scoring game, and I think they're going to get back on track and find a way to win this game. P.J. Walker had his moment. I don't think he's good enough. I'll take Atlanta in this one, minus points.
Yeah, the lines come down. Atlanta at minus 4.5, I think, is the lean. I love fading Carolina off a surprise win. They can't look as good as last week, but the Atlanta defense is awful. So if you believe in Carolina's offense at all, over is the way to look. A very low number at 41 for a defense that is not playing well in Atlanta. My best bet is to the over 41.
I got no best bet here. I do think it's notable that the Falcons are running on first down 72.2% of the time, which is the second highest rate since 2000. Only the 2009 Jets higher running the ball on first down. So look at that. PJ Walker, by the way, getting DJ more and more involved. 3-1 as a starter. Do you have something there, RJ?
Well, I was going to say, like, you're talking about running the ball. That shortens the game. There's less possessions in the game, and yet you're still seeing a lot of points in Falcons games, even with that go over 41 all the time. So just because they're shortening the game and having limited possessions doesn't mean this game's going to be in the 30s.
The running thing was not a knock on your over, by the way.
Right. That just, when you compare the points they're allowing per drive with the points they've allowed overall, it's a big disparity because there's not as many drives in Falcons games. But I don't think it matters.
Well, they got one really good defensive player, and the rest of them are just Grady Jarrett's great. The rest of them are.
I mean, they were down 21-0, and Marcus Mariota attempted 13 passes.
Yeah, it's crazy.
All right, Giants at Seahawks. Giants are 4-0 and trailing after the third quarter of the season. Best of the NFL. Seahawks minus 3, over under 44.5. By the way, the Giants and the Bills, only two teams not to allow 24+ points this year. Daniel Jones rushed for 100 yards last week. Pete, for 100 Brinson bucks. Can you name the last Giants quarterback before Daniel Jones to rush for 100 yards in a game?
It was 1940s.
If you get this, I will.
I forget his name. It wasn't Charlie Trippy, but it was in the 1940s, though. Right? Am I right? 40, 45, 46, something like that?
It was earlier than that.
Was it? What was it?
Ed Danowski.
By
the way, Ed Danowski, two-time NFL champion. First-team All-Pro.
I go look that up, though, because I would venture a guess that it was a single wing and he was a running quarterback who masqueraded as a quarterback.
He led the league in passing yards in 1935 and passing touchdowns. Fun fact: it's got to be his grandson is the head coach of Duke lacrosse. Or is it his son? No, it's his son. It's his son. John Danowski is the Duke University head lacrosse coach. He took over after the whole thing and has actually won 3 national titles with Duke lacrosse team.
He didn't run for 100 yards like Pop.
3 national titles.
That's the amazing thing is because, like, you would think, like, Fran Tarkenton back in the day would have rushed for 100 yards at some point because he ran around a bunch, but he didn't. So, look, I don't like the Giants in this spot. You go to Jacksonville, now you got to go out west. The one thing, the Giants, if I'm not mistaken, they're 5.7 per rush, just like the Chargers, tied for last in the league. Kenneth Walker, look, you saw what he did last week. He's going to do that again here. I like Seattle. In fact, throw them as one of my best bets. Put them in there. I'm going to add another one. I'm going to take Seahawks minus the points.
Did you check and see if Brinson has them as a best bet too? Because if Seattle was a Brinson best bet, I would hesitate on that.
It's just unnecessary.
Just trying to get revenge. So on one hand, the Giants keep winning as money line underdogs, and they keep being money line underdogs. The market doesn't adjust up. They don't believe in them. They keep saying, "I don't believe in you," and they go keep out winning games. I think the Giants are better than what the stats are saying because of their coaching. On the other hand, the Giants-Jacksonville game was minus 3, and Seattle's definitely better than Jacksonville. So I think you can argue either side of that and say the line isn't right in this. But it's a tough travel spot for the Giants. I agree with you there. The Giants defense now last in rush yards per play. Could be another huge Ken Walker game. But Giants haven't let that awful rush defense turn into points allowed so far, as Brinson was saying about how many points they've been allowing and how consistently they've not allowed a ton of points. Seattle's defense also not great, but multiple turnovers in the last 5 games. I don't know if the Giants are going to do that because they protect the ball pretty well. I'm high on both these teams. I want to play both these teams, but you're right about the tough travel spot. My lean is to Seattle, but I don't want to go against either of these teams right now.
Last week, Geno Smith, possible MVP candidate, beat the Chargers in what the Sunday Night Football Twitter account called the Geno Revenge Tour. Now he gets to face another of his old teams, a team that didn't believe in him. Well, they briefly believed in him when they benched Eli Manning and ruined Eli Manning's consecutive start streak so they could start Geno Smith for a game.
You're reaching for that one.
Okay. I already got my 3. I'm fine. I knew you wouldn't give it to me.
No, I'm not giving you that one.
All right. I like Seahawks in the spot. I think the Kenneth Walker look, he was chalky DFS last week. He's going to be chalky again this week. And I like his over. I like the over for his rushing yards.
Isn't he Ken now, by the way? We keep calling him Kenneth Walker. I think he's Ken now.
Oh, sure. Is that
I thought he was Ken, and then he came out and said Kenneth. I thought it was the other way around.
I think it was Kenneth, and he became Ken. Because in college, he was Kenneth Walker.
Seahawks.com has Ken Walker.
Yeah, he was Kenneth, and now he's Ken.
Oh, okay. All right, cool. Either whatever he wants, man. Keep smashing.
Geno Smith better than Russell Wilson now?
What's that?
Is Geno Smith better than Russell Wilson?
He's been for like 3, 4. He's like 5 or 6 weeks. He's been better.
Not talking about I'm talking about period.
Yes.
Would you take? Yeah,
no one would take Russell over Geno right now.
You would take Geno Smith as your quarterback for the next 3 years over Russell Wilson? Yes or no?
3 years is a tough one, but I would definitely take Geno Smith for the rest of this year.
RJ? I'd probably still take Russell Wilson.
Can I pass? Can I draft somebody else?
Yeah.
I just want a cheap rookie quarterback. Like give me that and build a team around that.
Are we incorporating contract into that?
Oh no, contract. You take Geno.
Yeah,
I'm not paying that contract.
Man, I tell you what, Pete Carroll looks smart. I like the Seahawks here, but not as the best bet. 49ers at the Rams. 49ers minus 1.5. Over to 43. The 49ers have won 7 of the last 8 matchups. The lone loss was the NFC Championship game last year. Jimmy G, first in the NFL in yards per passing attempt, 8.4 since joining San Francisco. Christian McCaffrey in his first game back, lined up in the backfield 15 times, in the slot 4 times, and out wide twice, according to Next Gen Stats. I expect we see him moved all over the place by Kyle Shanahan in this game. Pete, can the Rams shake Kyle Shanahan's dominance over their franchise?
No. Even though they're coming off a bye, and it's a good spot for them, no. And here's why. Their offensive line is horrendous, and that defensive line will get after them, just like they always do. When they play them, that's what happens. The defensive line dominates. They're going to dominate in this game. I'm taking the 49ers. They're actually one of my best bets.
I also have him as best bet. Pete nailed it there with the offensive line. You have 2 weeks to get healthy off a bye, but the health isn't going to help that offensive line. They're terrible. Since San Fran's defense will be back in form after getting embarrassed by Kansas City, they're going to take it out on that offensive line. The Rams D couldn't stop McCaffrey the last game they played before the bye. That was against Carolina. Now they didn't need to because nobody else in Carolina could do anything, and so they won that game comfortably. There's a lot more weapons here on offense. You don't need much of an excuse to back Shanahan versus McVay, especially in the regular season. Best bet, San Francisco minus 1.5.
I mean, we laid out all the reasons why, and I can't disagree. It is a little weird that the line hasn't moved that much, but it is you could say the game's on the road for the 49ers, but we've seen that place fill up with 49ers fans the last few times they've gone head to head. So we got another consensus. Do you want to fade the pod? Back the Cardinals.
Fade the losers.
Yeah.
Hashtag fade the pod.
Pete, we need to get a sound drop of you saying, give me a good loser.
You're a loser.
Billy Clifford, save that, please. All right. We all like the 49ers there. 2 more. Packers at the Bills. Bills minus 11.5. Over under 47.5. This is Sunday Night Football. It was supposed to, in theory, a good game before the season. This is the first time ever in Aaron Rodgers' career he will, if it closes above 10, he will be a double-digit underdog, according to John Breach. So I'm going to go with it. Packers 3-game losing streak is the longest since 2018. They had 0 third-down conversions last week, the first time since 1999. The Bills' five-game home winning streak is the longest in the NFL. their last 6-game winning streak, 1998, really throwing it back to my high school days. Sean McDermott, similar to Andy Reid, his old mentor, 5-0 after the bye. Aaron Rodgers only started in Buffalo, came in week 15 of 2014, completed 40% of his passes, 0 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Woof. Pete.
This is an enormous number, but I would lay it. It's not one of my best bets, but I would lay the points. There's no way you could take this Packers offense anywhere, anyway, on the road. So back-to-back road games too. A team coming off a bye, I'll take Buffalo minus the points.
This line obviously looks like a reaction against how bad the Packers have looked, but next week they are 3.5-point favorites in Detroit. Now, if that sounds familiar, Miami is 3.5-point favorites in Detroit. So the market is telling you those are even teams, Green Bay and Miami. This line isn't about the Packers. It's about the Bills. And the market thinks that the Bills are just head and shoulders above where teams typically are at this point in the season, and that they have no flaws and they're unbeatable at certain points. I know they've lost a game, but I think this is really about Buffalo. I think the market's overvaluing them a little. They are the best team. They're the best team on my power ratings. I have them as high as I've ever had a team at this point in the power ratings. Wow. I just think that 11.5 right now is too much against a Packers team that is average, not terrible, average to me, based on what the market's saying about them in comparison to the Dolphins. So my lean is to the Packers plus 11.5. Hate doing it against the Bills, but it's prime time. Maybe Aaron Rodgers shows up, whatever. I just think the line's a little too high.
It's an enormous number. I mean, it's ridiculous to think that you would get 11.5 points with Aaron Rodgers. I mean, honestly, I don't know. I thought about my gut reaction is you give me the points with Aaron Rodgers, then you're like, man, this I don't know if I can do it, and I don't think I can do it. So I'm going to pass here. I think I would lay it with Buffalo, as crazy as that is. But I mean, you're right, RJ. It's a ton of points. Aaron Rodgers getting 11.5. What a world we live in. Finally, Bengals -3 at the Browns, over under 46.5. Bengals haven't allowed a second half touchdown this season. The first team since the 1934 Lions to do so in 7 games. Who would thought we'd have so many 1930s references on this podcast? Burrow is really tracking on a good note right now, playing some awesome football and putting himself in pretty ridiculous historical statistical categories. Pete, does he keep it going against this Browns defense?
Yes, he does. That Browns defense stinks. And what the Burrow and the gang adjusted to was teams playing off coverage. They've learned how to deal with it. They're much more patient. Then they take their shots. And what you saw is what happened last week. That's who they should be. Throw it around. Let all 3 receivers get involved. Somebody tells Zach Taylor, you throw to score, you run to win. That's exactly the way they have to play. They'll play that way here. I think they win this game and cover the number. I'll take the Bengals.
They lit up a team last week with the worst sack rate in the league. This is a better pass rush, even if that defense hasn't played well overall. They have good pass rushers. I think they can get after this offensive line, and this offensive line could regress a little bit and look closer to what we saw early in the season. I'm not rushing to play the Browns at +3, but it was 3.5 at one point on Wednesday. So if you can get 3.5, I think in a tough divisional game, we're on the road for the Bengals on prime time, I think it's going to be a 3-point game. So I would look to play Cleveland at 3.5 once you get it there.
I think we see big game Joe Burrow. Monday Night Football. This guy, he just steps up in big games. He likes the stage, and he's going to put up big numbers here. I'll take the over 46.5. Yes, the sack certainly a better pass rush, but capable of torching this Browns secondary. And I think you'll get Cleveland kind of cranking up the pass rate a little bit as well. Give me the over 46.5 as a best bet. All right, let's recap the revenge parlay. 6-1, not bad. Saints money line, Vikings money line, Commanders money line.
That's yours, by the way. Me and RJ are not.
It's a Will Brinson revenge parlay.
Okay.
I might tell the social team to toss it on Instagram.
Okay.
They still do that. Maybe I'll toss it on Instagram. Pete's best bets: Dolphins, Lions over, Commanders with the points, Saints, Texans teaser, Vikings laying the points, 49ers laying the points, Cowboys laying the points. RJ's best bets.
And Seahawks. I added the Seahawks.
Seahawks. Yeah, thanks. Sorry about that. Hard to get good help around here. Just kidding. Billy's great. Debo, he was bad.
Get him out.
Yeah, see you, Debo. Dolphins. This is RJ's best bets again. Dolphins -3.5. Vikings -3.5. 49ers -1.5. Saints over 49.5. Panthers over 41. And a teaser with the Broncos and the Jets. RJ, you also have 2 look-ahead lines that we didn't discuss, right?
Yeah, you want me to do it now or after you wrap up your picks?
Go ahead, do them now.
Yeah, I like Minnesota -2.5 at Washington. We said that the market's underrating Minnesota. I think that continues here. Market must assume Heineke's a big upgrade, or the Minnesota's being underrated, which might be the case with that line move we saw. I think the line should be well above 3 with Washington not having a home field advantage. So I get it now at 2.5. The other one, Seahawks +3.5 at Arizona. I think Arizona's overrated coming out of that game against the Saints. Not buying into them. If Seattle beats the Giants, which it sounds like we're expecting, and Arizona loses to Minnesota, this has got to be +3 tops. And so +3.5 isn't going to be there. I would get it now.
Yeah, it's a good point. I mean, I like too that those are correlated with that Minnesota-Arizona game where if we're correct about that, like these lines should both shift. And now, you got to make people wait to get my picks so they can fade them accordingly. Jaguars -2.5. These are my best bets. Steelers, Eagles under 43. Patriots -2.5. Vikings -3.5. Titans -2. Bengals over 46.5. Cowboys, Lions, teaser. That's it. That's the show. Week 8. Can't be worse than weeks 1 through 7, right? Just kidding.
Well, for you, it can't be.
That's right. For you, yeah. RJ stays hot. By the way, if you want all of RJ's picks when he puts them in, sportsline.com/join. Use promo code WHITE. You get your first month for $1. Watch Pete on CBS Sports HQ. He's on like 42 times a day.
And now I have you can go on YouTube and find my picks in 60 seconds.
I'm sorry. You have a YouTube, your shorts? Are they on, you have shorts?
They're shorts.
Are they on the Pick 6 YouTube or are they on like HQ?
They're on HQ YouTube somewhere. I don't know. The social team made me do them. So that I do picks in 60 seconds. And here I have to sit here with you for 50 minutes.
Hey, we trimmed it down. We made it fast. Hey.
When Prisco puts out 60-second clips, they should be called jorts, not shorts.
I don't wear jorts. Never wear jorts in my life. That's
I love that you adamantly deny that every time. It's fine. It's fine.
I never wear jorts. I promise you.
African fishing.
Brinson, that's your thing up in North Carolina. That ain't
jorts?
my
What are you talking about? All right,
Winter vines and jorts.
We can talk about this later.
And fish belts.
I do have I may be wearing a fish belt right now. All right. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. For Pete, for RJ, I'm Brinson. We will see you guys later.
Later.